good to see you again. We're like total Blab buddies. If you, Natalie, if you refresh, I think you already did that. You already went out and did you want to refresh?
So why don't we just go ahead and introduce ourselves? Natalie, why don't you start since you're a pro at this?
No, you start. I've said enough. You start. I'll come back to me. All good.
Well, this is my first Blab. I'm not even sure what to say. All right. My name is Jeree Freeman, and I know Natalie from actually her Facebook group. We know each other from a previous podcast group. That's where we originally met. And she's got a brilliant podcast. I ended up getting in her group, and we become friends. And possibly like all of you, I know her pretty well, but I've never met her in person. So I don't know if both of you have met Natalie in person. I have not. And we got on Skype yesterday, and I actually laughed because I had forgotten that we'd never met in person. And I felt like I already knew her. And when I got off the Skype, I thought, wait a minute, that's like our technical first time meeting eye to eye as opposed picture to picture. So it was kind of funny that I already felt really connected to her, even though we had never actually seen each other's lips moving. Let's see, about me, a little bit about me. I am a female entrepreneur like you ladies. I am the CEO and founder of my company, Connect Epic. We're at connectepic.com, and we do a variety of things, all of which relate around to connecting to solve problems, create opportunities, and to finding other people to basically network with. So we recently just launched a beta version of our guest search for primarily podcast interviews, but also we're doing blabs and some other platforms, articles, et cetera, to get people some interviews. And basically we're sort of like the Haro for podcasting. And it's something we've been doing for 2 years, connecting people to podcasts as guests. And it got to the point where we were just turning away so much business that we had to figure out how to scale it because it's no fun turning away money when somebody's holding cash in front of your hand. So that's basically when we came up with the Haro style model, and we are actually in beta for that. And we are getting ready to open the doors, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Are you a solopreneur or do you have a team?
I actually run the company with my husband, and we are in the process of hiring out a team. We have just... people have come out of the woodwork to get on our guest search platform. I've been blown away by it. And so I've realized I can no longer drag my foot. I have to actually hire a team, which is hard to do as a perfectionist. But we are working to do that right now. We actually just launched our Facebook group, thanks to Natalie, at like midnight last night. So check that out. I'll send y'all a link if you're interested, or anybody who is on the Blab today, feel free to come check it out. It's basically a group for entrepreneurs that want to network, get to know people. It's not so much training like, here's tech stuff, here's how to do this and that. It's more, come here, we're solopreneurs, we're entrepreneurs. We may have 1 or 2 person or 3 person teams, but we need something more than that. Most of us work at our house, and you need a bigger team, a bigger group of people to rely on, to bounce ideas off of. And it's so hard to find a mastermind or a mentor, that the idea is that our group is basically in place of that, or sort of running in parallel if you do happen to be lucky enough to have those things. So
awesome. Is it a paid group or free group?
The group we started last night is actually free. And in about a month, we're going to be starting our paid group for entrepreneurs.
Nice.
So
awesome. Okay. Carol, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I first met Natalie on Twitter, as I like to say, because I started listening to her podcast last summer, the summer of 2014, and immediately fell in love with all the great interviews that she did. So I started tweeting to her about each episode. And so we just kind of became, I guess, friends or colleagues on Twitter. And then I've gotten to know each other more over the past couple of months. And that's really, to me, it just epitomizes the power of networking. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. So I am the creator of Speaking Your Brand, and I help women entrepreneurs tell their story better and improve their public speaking skills so that they can use public speaking as part of their marketing strategy. And public speaking is a really great way to also network and build relationships with other people, especially in your community. So I really encourage women to go out and do that some more. I also teach business and marketing classes online at Full Sail University in Orlando.
That's awesome. And that's so, I think people really are into, a lot of people, they see the value of speaking, but they're either like, they're just not confident with their skills. But nowadays, right, with the opportunities of Blab and Periscope, they're thinking, I got to get this sorted because it's such a brilliant
I am.
opportunity
Yeah.
to grow your audience and get out there. But it's actually way easier than organizing an event. I mean, you don't even have to put a PowerPoint together. You just kind of click the button.
Right.
And there you are. So that's
Can you
really
guys
cool.
hear me?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay. I'm going to try to see if I can go back to my podcasting setup. I changed browsers to Firefox.
Yeah.
So just give me 1 second. At least we know I can talk. I'm so thrilled.
Yay.
So, okay, 1 second.
That's awesome, Carol. I want to hear more about that because I have a lot of men and women. So I don't know if you only work with women, but I have a lot of people I know right now are sort of hitting that level of their business where
Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
where they're taking their business to that next
is it
level.
coming
Like
through?
they are doing speaking engagements, they are getting their books written, and they don't have a background in speaking, and they don't know what to do, and they don't have $10,000 to go pay some of these larger, high-profile names.
Right, exactly. And I think really the key is that we all are experts in our businesses because we run our businesses. So we're experts in what we do, the clients that we work with, and ourselves. And so it's sharing those stories and our vision and our mission is the best way to go about public speaking. So yesterday, I went to a luncheon with a women's group here in Orlando, and there was a speaker, and she owns a cosmetics line and does makeover classes and makeup lessons and things like that. And so after she did her 20, 30-minute talk and actually did a makeover on someone, I now want to go to her for my makeup and my makeup classes because now I've seen her in person and see what she can do. And so now she's the expert I want to go to, not someone that I just randomly can find online or just, going through Orlando search.
That's cool.
All right. So we got everybody introduced. Is that right?
I haven't introduced.
Oh, Nat. Okay. Hey, and Nat, I know you and I both go by Natalie and Nat. For this blab, can you be Nat and I'll be Natalie? Does that work?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Nat, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so thank you. So my business is called Go-To Girl, Social Media and Networking. So I'm juggling the mother load. I've got 3 kids. They are 4, 7, and almost 9 at the moment. So I use that hashtag, juggling the mother load of running a business while raising a family. And so while I do coach people on social media and networking, I also love to talk about in my mastermind group. So I've got it same as you, Jeree. I've got a free group on Facebook, and I've also got a paid group. But in the paid group, I do talk about a lot of aspects of looking after yourself while also running a business. So like wanting to be profitable and have an amazing business that we know you love, but honestly, like staying up till like midnight every night is not sustainable. So we look at what are some of the lifestyle tweaks you can do. We look at like what's on your vision board. But I also bring in experts to talk about like Instagram and Facebook ads and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome. So I love my business. And I think it is just a journey, though, of trying to do those things, run your business successfully, give your kids and your hubby the love they deserve, and also not lose yourself in the process. So that's the kind of stuff I love.
And I'm really excited because we are coming from literally around the world right now. So Nat's blabbing in, is that what we say? Is that the terminology? I don't know. I'm going to say it. Blabbing in from New Zealand, but you're not from New Zealand. You're not originally from New Zealand, right? You're from Canada. Is that
That's
correct?
right. So before you got on, I was saying that my parents are Kiwis, which is New Zealanders.
Yes.
I have no Canadian relatives, but I was born in Canada, and then I moved here about 18 years ago.
Okay. And then Jeree's coming from Texas, and Carol's coming from Florida, which maybe you guys covered already. Sorry, I missed it with our tech issues, but I'm so happy that it's all sorted out, and I get to be with you 3 lovely ladies because I have identified you guys as 3 women that I really admire how you network. And the only person I've actually met in person is Nat. So Nat and I were at Social Media Marketing World 2015, which was in March. And we actually were part of a small group that was brought together by Rosemary Nickel. And she actually created a mastermind moment for all of us at that conference. And it was really powerful. She brought together about 10 to 20 women to a small dinner that she just literally created at the conference. So I think that's just such another great idea of networking. And I think Nat and I had, met in passing at, one of the different podcaster speaker events, but that I don't think I would have felt connected to you without that kind of sitting down and having a meal together moment that was created for us. So that was a really powerful networking. And all of you guys have, you have the ability to connect with others online and offline, in a way that I don't think everybody has. And so my goal for this is to pull out those things that just come natural to you guys, because you're really great at it, so that those of us that maybe some of those things don't come naturally, it can come out. So Nat, I wanted to start with you because I think you just came off of an event last night. What were some of your, I mean, this must have kind of been in the back of your mind this was happening. Did you observe any networking happening, positive or negative things happening that you were like, wow, that person is really making great connections and really knows what they're doing, or maybe some other people that were really struggling? What were some things that you saw?
Yeah, so I hosted, so I was working till midnight. I hosted an event, we called it Connecting for a Cause. It was basically networking meets fundraising event, and we're aiming to raise $10,000. I'm not sure. We got to about 7 and they haven't finished tallying it up. So we'll see how we go. It was a silent auction. So it was a little bit different from my usual networking events that I run. It was the same size, around 115 women entrepreneurs. So it was really noisy. Like I said to one of the girls who was a speaker at the event, she was really nervous. I said, this is the friendliest audience that you're ever going to get in front of. Like, they are so excited to be here. It's for a good cause. And they're part of my tribe. Like, I actually knew only half of the people in the audience. Half of them were new to me, which I love that. I love meeting new people. But it's such a friendly group of ladies. And I think the thing is, at an event like that, it can be really intimidating for people that are more introverted. And so there were a few people that I saw, they weren't mixing and mingling. They went and they sat down, right? They claimed their space, but they didn't just leave their coat and go. They actually were sitting there. So whenever I'm at an event, whether I'm the speaker or just a person attending, and especially if I'm the speaker, I'll just go up and talk to people. Like, I don't do the I'm on a pedestal, I'm so awesome. Like, I was there with my hair and my sparkly silver dress and all that. But I'm always,
you were awesome.
I like to make a point of going up and just being like normal to people and being in the crowd. So sometimes during the talk, I was the MC and the host, but I'll go and I'll sit down, but I'll just sit in the crowd here. And then when I go down next time, I'll sit somewhere else. And I think that's, I don't know, I guess so my message around that is really, no matter how awesome and successful you are, just remember you are still one of the gang, and people really appreciate that when you, like, the ladies were like, oh, we thought you were just going to come up and tell us to move into the auction room. I'm like, nah, I'm just coming to say hi. And that, they really like that. So I guess that's one of my key messages. And the other thing is the power of reintroduction. So if you meet someone, I think one of the top tips that I always give is, like, you think, I always do this naturally, but make a point of thinking, who can I introduce them to, either here on the night or like just in my Rolodex of people that I know that, can help further their business. And for some of us, maybe the 4 of us, that's just a natural, like, we do that all the time, right? But my tip to people is to rather than, oh, they're not my ideal client, shut the door in my mind, think, who do I know that could benefit their business, or who do I know that could benefit from their business? And then take it to the next level, reintroduce them on the night or in a follow-up email or private message, put them together, connect them.
That's smart.
Mm-hmm. And Jeree, that's something I see you do really well. And somehow what I want to talk about is how you do that on Facebook. And then Carol, you are like my Twitter connector. So I know you connect other places too, but I kind of want to pull out some of the things that you do, because I know that most people listening and watching right now, they are interacting online with people. So how do you, Jeree, look at when you're looking at, you've met someone online and a connection can be made? How do you decide who to connect and who not to connect? And what do you do? Like, say for me, like you might have a potential guest in mind for me, especially like going back before we kind of knew each other better. What would you do? I hear your little one.
Perfect timing.
I'm
also a mother to a 3-year-old.
Yes, you are. Do you want me to come back to you, Jeree, and we can go to Carol next?
Yes, let me see what the crisis is. Sorry.
You do that. We'll go with Carol. So Carol, to Twitter, that's how you and I connected, which you mentioned. And I find that you're so effective at using Twitter. And one of the things that I've shared in previous episodes about you in particular is that you're able to, first of all, you got on my radar because you were tweeting out things about my episodes that showed me that you listened and that you learned something, and that really meant a lot to me. And then we've taken that conversation more to email and to other venues. What do you do online? Like, how do you decide? You can't tweet every podcast you listen to, I don't think. You can't tweet every great person you meet that you want to share their information. How do you kind of make those decisions and deepen those connections from 140 characters to more than that?
Well, I wish I could say that I had some grand strategic plan in mind, but I really didn't, and I still don't. I really just go with what vibe I'm feeling. So Nat, when I mentioned that when I listened to your podcast starting last summer, they really grabbed me. I really liked your interview style. I really enjoyed listening to the women entrepreneurs that you had on. And so it just resonated with me so much. And you seem very approachable. I think that's also really key when you're looking to connect with people, especially people you don't know and you've never met in person, and you're using a platform like Twitter, is to find people who seem relatable and approachable and connect with them. And then, and like you said, and show that you're really interested in what they're doing. It's so easy just to click the retweet button on someone's tweet, which is fine. I do that sometimes. We're busy, we want to show support, so we do that. But then also make sure to make the effort to show that you've listened or you've read the blog post. So pull something out that really resonated with you and put that in the tweet. And then I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I always tweet the host and the guest with their handles. And then I'll do that, not in a stalker way, but do it on a regular basis so that they know I am now wanting to be part of their community.
That's a question we have from the chat you kind of alluded to, which is, what advice would you give to people so that it comes off as flattering and not as being a stalker? And thank you, Mamika Cooney, who's a fellow podcaster as well, videocaster. She's wondering that. So any tips for how to manage that? Because it could come off as stalking.
Right. So don't do it every day, and don't do it every hour of every day. So I think, with Natalie, with your podcast, they come out once a week, or they were coming out more than that. So I would probably do once a week, and which is fine. It's not excessive at all, but when you're doing it on a weekly basis, it shows that you're interested and that you care about what the person is doing and the community that they're building. So, and also obviously we all know how to be appropriate. We know when things maybe are outside the boundaries or crossing the line. So just be yourself, be authentic, and just pull out what is resonating most with you.
Okay, I love that. I think that's so wise. What you said is to look for those people that seem approachable, because not everybody, some people that have really big platforms, it will take you longer to build that relationship to get on their radar. And then there's other people that, you see that are more open to connection. So Jeree, what are your Facebook, I don't mean to say strategies, like I know that you guys don't sit there and go, I'm going to, conquer the world through my way of connecting. But I feel that you have an ability, you cross my path in lots of different spheres of my business. And a lot of people that I'm connected with know you. And everybody has a really warm feeling towards you because you've been very helpful. So how have you decided who to help? Because you can't help everybody.
Right. Well, maybe it's because I'm from the South. Maybe that's why people feel a warm connection to me. I'm not sure. How do you decide who to help? That's a great question. Sometimes I don't help the right people. It's a fine line. And, I used to help people more readily. And then I got a few blow-ups, including a stalker and a situation where I actually had to call the police. And that really made me pull back and realize that online things are very different. And there are so many aspects that you can't judge. You don't get those sixth sense warnings that you would from a in-person meet and greet. And I realized, okay, I can't just interact with people the way I do in the real world, because there's all these things that we don't see. You can't, there's so many things that you lose when you're not face-to-face with somebody, ways to judge the situation, the person, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And so I've pulled back quite a bit. And what I do now, and it's something that I coach people on, it's actually part of a networking course that we're creating, because I've had so many people ask me this. And basically, I watch people. I see how they interact in a group. If they look like they're pretty helpful to people in the group, I see them regularly, they're contributors, then that makes me feel safer to reach out, make a connection. connect them with somebody else. You know, I used to be much more quick at jumping in and saying, oh, let me connect you. But now I make sure that there's that they have a vested interest in where they're at and where I meet them. So if somebody just jumps in for the first time in let's say your group, I'm probably not going to open my Rolodex to my 5 best friends because I don't know that person. But if somebody's been in the group and I've seen them participate, they've built relationships with other women in your group, they've been helping other people, that really makes me want to help them because I see that we're a similar type of person. That means that we're both givers. And like you said, you don't have time to help everybody. And I've come to the point in my life that I'm no longer willing to help somebody who's a taker. And I understand that at a certain point, taking is okay, but it's also 100% takers tend to be really obvious a lot quicker. And so I just make sure I don't give any of my time anymore to people who come off as takers because I want my input and effort in the world to have a ripple effect. I don't always have to see the return value myself, but I want those people to pay it forward, and givers do that. Givers pay it forward. And so that's how I select who I help, because why not help somebody who's going to help somebody else? That's kind of how
I think that's a really great point, and that's what I see in all 3 of you, is that you're so giving and that you are just like willing to put yourself out there. When do you feel like it's okay to kind of ask for something from someone? When do you how do you make that transition? So, because I'm assuming for at least one of you, it's probably hard to ask for help.
I never ask. I never ever ask.
Sure, you never ask. Yeah, we kind of had a conversation about that yesterday when we were testing all this. But sometimes it's hard to ask when you're giving a lot. What about you, Nat? How do you kind of balance the giving and receiving of connecting in business and networking?
Yeah, well, one of my favorite phrases that I use when I'm coaching people on social media, but it goes right through to business and life, is give, give, get. So
give, get
is the magic combination. I actually got a necklace made for myself with give, give, get, because like many of us, I'm an overgiver. Giving is fine, but you need to make sure that you get in return. And so I'm talking about life, obviously. If you're giving all the time, you're going to get exhausted or bitter. Yes. And if you're on social media, if all you're doing on Facebook is being helpful and friendly and generous, doing entertaining and inspirational posts, but never asking for the sale, or never telling them, hey, come and follow me on Pinterest if you're on Pinterest, never inviting them to work with you in various shapes and forms, then your business you're not going to thrive in business. And so someone in the group was saying, my head is spinning. There's so many Facebook groups. And I think exactly, Mimi, I would say, I advise people to focus on like 2 or 3 private Facebook groups and just be in there, like Jeree was saying, giving value, being real, being authentic. And it is that give, give, get model. Like, you don't just barge in, so you see some people, they'll just share something into a group. They'll never contribute. They're literally just sharing stuff, and it's so inappropriate.
It's typically their webinar or their sales page.
Yeah. But if you go in there and you someone asks a question and you genuinely know the answer, or you can help out, or maybe you ad tag someone. They'll say, does anyone know a graphic designer? And I'm like, yeah. And I go and ad tag a few graphic designers. You want to be generous and helpful. And then when it's appropriate, you also want to invite people to work with you. So in some groups, it's like they have only on every Wednesday is when they put up the post and you can comment there. But I think that's a good tactic. And so to focus on 2 to 3 private groups and just really make those your home, even if it's only for a couple of months. And then you kind of go and look in a few other groups, but don't try to do magic words for business. Don't try to do it all. Don't try to do everything, because you'll just end up spread too thin and not giving value and not getting value in return.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How do you guys decide when to kind of take things out of a group? So, and this also relates to if you're, say, at a networking event and you've connected with someone, how do you say, hey, maybe we could meet for coffee and see how we can help each other grow? But I feel like online it's a little harder. Like, okay, so we're interacting in a Facebook group, but how do you guys approach people? Because I think you've all done this in a more private way to deepen that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Carol, I'd love to hear what you say.
So, well, I would do pretty much what you just said, Natalie, which is, well, instead of grabbing coffee, because we're probably in different parts of the country, is just get on the phone or get on a Skype conversation. So I think Donna is on today on the Blab, Donna Cravata. And so she's actually doing a webinar for my Full Sail students in a couple of weeks. And Natalie, you did one for them last month. And so she saw that and she offered to do a webinar, which is great. And then she emailed me and we got on the phone a couple of days later and talked for almost an hour about our businesses. And so now we have a much stronger connection than we would have had just conversing in a Facebook group. So Skype, phone, Blabs, it's a great way. I think there's something about seeing people's faces and hearing their voices that really deepens a connection.
You know, I think that's interesting you say that. I have found that typically when somebody reaches out to me, for whatever reason, a lot of people typically say, hey, let's jump on the phone. And I'll respond, if I'm willing to do that, if I'll respond with, well, let's do Skype. I really push for Skype for that exact reason, because I like the eye contact. There's so many things you can read, you know, visually when you're on Skype that you can't necessarily read on the phone. And also, you know, somebody's actually giving you their attention. And personally, if I'm spending my time with somebody else, I know I'm giving them my full attention, short of potentially my 3-year-old coming in and saying hello in the microphone. But other than that, you know, I want to make sure that we're both giving the same to the conversation. And so typically if somebody will not get on the Skype with me, to me, that's like a red flag for me. And there's been a few times that somebody's had Skype issues, and that's something totally different. But if somebody just typically is like, oh, no, I can't do Skype, and it's not just a technical issue, because I've taught several people how to get on Skype. I've downloaded the app with them. Like, I've walked them through those steps. But if somebody won't do that, to me, that's just a, well, maybe we don't take this to the next level kind of filter.
Right. Unless I'm in my pajamas, then I may say that's Skype later on.
Also, nowadays with Blab and Periscope, we have the opportunity to kind of, you know, fast forward that a little bit, because a lot of people, like people watching today or watching the replay, they'll kind of feel like they know us a little bit better. And they do, because we're just being ourselves. Like, I'm just in my home office. My husband had to take the kids to school so that I could be here. I had to jump off a mastermind call early so I could be here. You know, like, they're getting the real us. And I think that's really cool. And I think, yeah, I always wanted to, yeah, I think you can just make connections with people. They feel like they know us, but we want to get to know them. So maybe it's a Skype. I've started using Zoom a lot for my coaching, and just for instead of Skype, Zoom's really easy. It's another great way. It's a free platform as well. It's a great way to see people and just have conversations. Record the call if you want, if you're training them and you want them to watch the replay.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about going to an event. So I think we all go to conferences for our industry. It's where I met the other awesome Natalie here. And I know, Jeree, you were at Podcast Movement this summer and got to meet in person a ton of podcasters you'd already networked with, you know, online. And what is it like to take that personal relationship offline? How does it change things? And what's the value for building your network of attending live events?
I thought it was really awesome personally. I have never gone to an event before. This is my first time I've gone to an event that I knew people online first, because last year when I went to Podcast Movement, I didn't really know people. I knew a couple of people, but not very well. And this is the first time I've actually gone to an event that I had some really, really close friends that I was going to see in person, as well as a variety of levels of friendships that I had created. And I got there, and I guess I kind of didn't have any expectations. I just was going to a conference, and it's like any other conference. But I got there and I was so shocked that I was literally, I'm not like a really touchy-feely person. Like, I probably wouldn't do well in Japan. Like, I need my 2-foot radius around me, probably because I'm Southern and I have this blood in me that says I need like this Southern belle skirt zone. Like, I don't want you to breathe my air. Don't infiltrate my air. And so I thought it was really interesting that I went to this conference and I saw all these people and I was so compelled to hug them. And that's so not my personality. Like, I'm very loving with my family, but I don't just hug people that I've only met online. I mean, it's so weird to even say that out loud, actually. It's what kind of weird, creepy thing. But I was compelled to hug all these people because I had created such amazing friendships with them. And it kind of brought me to tears with a couple of people, because I had not realized up until that point, when I was standing right in front of them, and I just was like, bring it in. I'm going to give you a hug, you know? And I just I couldn't stop myself from hugging these people. I was like, this is so unlike my normal, I need my zone to breathe. And I thought it was really cool, because I thought, wow, I've heard about these things. I've heard about people who, you know, met their wife online on some dating site. And I always thought, how could you possibly marry somebody that you met online? It blew my mind. I just could not comprehend until I went to this conference. I thought, oh, that's how you do it. It's not that like you're so shallow that you're okay just meeting somebody online. It's that you know how to build a relationship online and take it to the next level. And I think that it's such an amazing thing. And how amazing all these people who've like been able to do that for all these years and not listen to people like me that was impossible.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Carol? How about I know you've been doing a lot of in-person events as well recently. How has that been growing your network?
So I love in-person events because, as we've talked about, there's really no way to establish a deeper connection with people and to get to know people better than through being able to just converse with them face to face and sense their body language and being able to talk at a deeper level. And part of what I do is I help women entrepreneurs with public speaking. So I'm an introvert. And a lot of people I know are surprised that a lot of us, like, I know, Nat, you mentioned that on your podcast once, that you're an introvert too, but this doesn't mean that we don't like to talk or we don't like to do public speaking. It's just that we like to have our own, alone me time as well. And so I struggled with networking early on in my career. I didn't like to do it. I was shy to go to events. But then I got to the point where I realized that everyone's there for the same purpose. They're all there to talk to each other. So there's nothing wrong. I now will just go up to someone, a couple people or someone standing by themselves, and just introduce myself and ask them, so what brought you here today to this event? Have you been here before? Because they're there for conversation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone. I think just at that change in my mindset has worked wonders to get me out of my tendency to be more of an introvert.
Yeah. How about you, Nat?
I think similar to when you're speaking to an audience, but when you go to an event, you want to be aware of, the 4 personality types, and there's all sorts of different versions, Myers-Briggs, and there's like the dove and the pigeon or the eagle. The one that I always talk about is the animals. So the otter, the beaver, the lion, and the retriever. So otter, probably beaver. Who's the perfectionist? Jury over there. Beaver. Yeah, lion. I'm probably none of us because we're too giving to be a lion. Retriever. We're all retrievers. We want to give and help people. The disease to please. Anyway, so I think being aware of the personality types of your personality type, and then being able to read people, not put them in a box, but just be aware of the way that they see the world. So I love the cat. I love your cat tail up by your head.
Meow. I don't have kids, but I do have 2 cats, and that's one of them.
So I'm super extroverted. So if I go up to someone and I can sense that they're more quiet and calm, I'm going to kind of I'm just going to bring it in a little bit. Like, I'm still going to be me, but I'm not going to be like super in their face. You just want to read people. And I think the key that you said before, Carol, is just inquire. Like, don't go in there and be like, here's my business card. This is what I do. You want to just kind of inquire. And inquire doesn't mean, what do you do? But all sorts of other questions around, like, how did you find out about this event? Or what are you hoping to learn at this workshop? Or, how do you help people in your business? That's more interesting than like, what do you do? So part of it is conversation, but the part before that, I think, is reading people. And I love that Jeree said she observes, she observes and takes it in. So one of the advice I have to introverts, first of all, is before you walk in the room, just take a moment, even in your car, right? Center yourself, even visualize yourself meeting people and introducing and having fun, and then go in. And I think also know your goal. I'm very goal orientated. Like, if you think my goal is to meet 3 really amazing people tonight, like, you don't have to say I want to get 20 business cards. That's not going to do a lot. I want to connect with 3 amazing people that either I can help or they can help me in some way. Like, I think that's a pretty cool goal for a networking event.
Absolutely. Hey, Nat, Mamika just asked, she wants to know where she can find out more information about the beaver lion personality type.
I've never heard that before. Nat, I never heard that either. If you could go through it, give us a little teaching here on the 4 animals, because I think I missed one. I've actually
got a podcast. I've interviewed someone about it, and it's so fascinating. It can help you in your business, like with your sales calls, with your kids, with your husband, your relationship. So the otter, the beaver, the lion, the retriever is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is your true essence of your personality and how you reflect that in your clothing and what you wear to events and what you wear in your promotional video, and what's in the background. So that is wood, fire, water, and metal. So, I mean, they're both really different, but they're actually the same thing. So I'll give you an example. So my true essence is wood and fire. Okay. So wood means I like growth. I like a plan. I'm really competitive. I know what I want. I'm going to go get it. But I'm also fire. Like, look at my color. I always wear pink or bright green or bright yellow. I'm like, look at me. So that's just like, that's wood. That's fire. Water is the people that walk slower. They talk slower. they'll hold the baby for hours. Like I can hold a baby for like 5 minutes and I'm like, okay, all done, gotta go. I gotta move. I'm wood. I gotta keep moving and growing all the time. And metal is the more classy people, you know, they'll wear like fancy jewelry. They're more the perfectionist, always immaculate. Their house is tidy. This is my name tag that I always take to events. And because I don't like the little plastic ones that ruin my dress. So I bought this and it's like a necklace. So this is me bringing a little bit more metal into my business because I'm so wood and fire that I need to balance it out by bringing in a little bit more water, like trying to meditate, doing some yoga and bringing in a little bit more metal to just kind of balance things out in my business. That's the essence personality way of looking at it. And the other one that I mentioned is the otter, the beaver, the lion, the retriever. Just briefly, it's fascinating to look at your kids if you're a parent. And because it's like, oh my gosh, my daughter Ruby, she is a retriever beaver, right? So you've got elements of everybody, but you're going to have dominant. She's a retriever beaver. All she wants is, she just loves peace and quiet. If there's any yelling in the house, she'll be like this. She just wants to make everyone happy. So she'll say, mommy, which plate should I put the toast on? I'm like, Ruby, just make a decision. It doesn't matter. She doesn't want to get it wrong. So the beaver wants it to be perfect. They're the type of person or kid. Okay, they're the type of business owner that will not launch that video unless it's absolutely perfect. They won't put the sales page out because it's not quite right. It's like, just hit go, because I'm an action person. Like, just do it. Tweak it later. It's all good. So that's I just kind of touched on the retriever, the disease to please. And the thing with the retriever, they want to keep everyone happy, but they often at the expense of themselves. Okay, so it's interesting when you look at yourself or you look at your partner or your kids around that. But then when you look at your business partner or your other friends that you're working with or potential clients, and if you can kind of see their personality type, you can, like, if you know someone is more of a data-based person, they're more of a beaver. They like the stats and the facts, and they just want to know the facts. Then when you're trying to sell them on your program, you might let them know more about the conversion rate, like give them some numbers. Whereas the more otter-based person like me, I love the limelight. I love to be seen and heard. You might say to me, oh, well, you're going to get a lot of exposure. You'll get some new international clients. And I'll be really, really cool. So you want to be able to read their personality. So
and what about the lion? What's the lion?
The lion is the surgeon or the CEO or the professional sports athlete, just to give an example. So the lion, and everyone's a bit of everything, but the lion is the competitive, it's my way or the highway. Like, this is the way we do things around here type child or person or business owner. And that can also, that's great. Like, in a way, entrepreneurs, we're all we got a bit of lion going on because we're like, I know what I want and I'm just going to do, this is where I'm going. And so, like I said before, it's a matter of balancing that out, whether you look at it from the personality profile of bringing in the water into your business or the metal, or maybe for me, bringing in a little bit more beaver, because I'm not really into like systems. Like, my desktop has photos everywhere, whereas a beaver would never have that. They'd have like the folders organized, the schedule. I've got my, my calendar here. They would be uber organized. The beaver, they're like, they've got it all figured out, but they might not launch their program because it's just not perfect yet.
I love that in thinking, and you're really touching on something, Natalie, which I've been stressing throughout this whole series, where this podcast and this blab is part of a series I'm doing on masterminding, networking, and teams. And my purpose, part of my purpose for bringing you all together is to help people think about their network, think about how to grow their network so that they can create a mastermind of diverse people. Because I really am a fan of bringing together those diverse personalities, those diverse ways of seeing the world. If you have everybody that's just like you, personality-wise and even industry-wise in the same group, you're not going to get the power of the diverse way of thinking that you would otherwise. So I love, I hadn't thought of it in terms of personality type before. I've been talking about industry. But as I think about, the most successful masterminds I've been a part of, they all do have those are different personalities represented as well. So I'm so glad you pulled that in. And the chat room's going wild over this. I mean, I think you need to do like a blog post on this or a whole other podcast on this. I mean, everybody's so excited about thinking about things this way. And I think also maybe there's some types of personalities that, may not be a match for you and that you want in your life, but maybe you don't want to spend a lot of time with. And so I think it's okay to, as you're surveying the room, whether it's a Facebook group room, a blab room, a physical room, if there may be some personalities you don't want to interact with that night, like maybe a lion is not who you want to be around. And so you can kind of see that happening in the room, take an inventory, and then steer yourself towards those people you're thinking of. that are a better match for your mood or your personality. And Nat, you brought, or I forget, now I'm forgetting who with this fun panel. Now I don't know who said what. I have so much information going on. And it's kind of was brought up in the side about quantity over quality and thinking of a goal. I think it was you, Nat. You said before you walk into an event, and I think the same thing before you walk into, when you're in a Facebook group, whatever you're doing with your time, think about what your goal is for that. And I love that you mentioned, having 3 people, quality people you'd like to meet. It could even be, I'd like to meet one quality person that I could ask to coffee later and start to build a relationship with. I mean, I would consider that a successful use of my time if I connected with a really quality person at a networking event. And I've been at, I know at Social Media Marketing World where we met, Nat, I saw people just collecting cards. And someone was like, I got 50 business cards at this event. And I was like, that is of no use to me. Like, what are you going to do with 50 business cards? I was so focused on trying to connect with people that I already had a relationship with online and to take that offline. So that's usually my intention at a live event, is to not necessarily meet new people, but I'm going to, like I met you, Nat, but to really try to be intentional. Who can I go deeper with? Because I'm trying to build I'd rather have a smaller network of really people I'm really connected with, that I am helping, that are helping me. We're digging into each other's lives, than to have this huge broad network where I don't really know anybody and nobody really knows me.
I want to add something to that, Natalie, because I think along the same lines as you. And when I went to Podcast Movement, that was my game plan. I'm just going to really focus on deepening the relationships of the variety of people I've already gotten to know. And one of the things I chose to do is allow myself every single day to be open to who I needed to meet. Not because it's who I thought I needed to meet, but who the universe needed me to meet. And I don't say that to be woo-woo, but I do think that doors open when you're willing to see a door. And one of the things I actively did at that conference was people who I already had a trusted relationship with, even though I'd only met them in person at Podcast Movement. After we chatted, did our thing, got our connection satisfied, I said, who else at this event do I need to meet? And I asked about 5 or 6 people I really trusted. And they introduced me to some amazing people. But I already had a relationship with them, so I trusted their judgment. And of course I did the whole, hi, this is, if somebody came into a group, I didn't just go, I'm not talking to you. I still did the normal cordiality stuff, but I actively sought out meeting new people because, maybe I'm just not in the group that they're in. And it's like Jason Van Orden. I had an opportunity to meet Jason Van Orden through another really good friend of mine, and I've become good friends with him. I would never have intentionally gone out and said, oh, let me go meet Jason, because that's just not my personality. I don't stalk people who are somewhat high profile or well-known, that's just not how I do it. But because I was open and I asked my friends, hey, who do I need to not miss? I had some really fortuitous meetings, and I made some really excellent friends and business contacts. And, if I had just been closed-minded and just said, I'm only going to stick with these people I started the relationship beforehand, there are a handful of people I would not, they have literally expanded my business, expanded my mindset. It's fabulous, because when you're willing to be open, I really do feel like you see things you wouldn't normally see.
And can I add that whether you're networking online or you're at conferences or events, don't necessarily solely go after the A-listers who are online or at the event, because they're really busy. They have their network of people. It's great to get introduced through someone else. Like Jeree said, if there's someone that you really ask someone that you should know at the event, that's great. But really look for the people, like we talked about at the beginning of this, who are approachable, because a lot of times they're going to be the ones who are going to be able to help you the most in your business. And you can really establish a mutually reciprocal and beneficial relationship for both of you, versus solely trying to go after the A-listers who honestly, they're busy. They have a lot on their plates, and they have their own network of connections that they're already working with.
Yeah, I love that. That's so smart. I think that people forget that sometimes the speakers, they have, like you just said, they have their own agenda. They have things that they have the person ahead of them they're trying to connect with, or the peer, or that online relationship they're trying to deepen or connect with a client. So there's so much going on in everybody. And you guys, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I'm sorry we went a little over, but I appreciate you being here. I'm wondering if we could close out with maybe a tip from each of you on either, I'm going to give you a choice. You can either give us a final closing networking tip or a tip on masterminding and finding a successful mastermind. So either one. Anyone want to go first? You can kind of give me a wave.
Okay, I'll go.
I want to give you both. I want to give you both.
You can give me both.
Okay, so I'm going to do 2 tips, but they're quick. The first tip is spend 15 minutes a day. That's it, but with a thoughtful approach to how you're going to connect with people online. So spend 15 minutes shining a spotlight on other people on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever you're at, so that you can promote them and shine the spotlight on them, because it will come back to you when you just spend 15 minutes a day doing that. And the second thing about masterminds. So I got involved with my first mastermind earlier this summer, and it changed my business and my life. I now know from this point going forward that whatever I do in my business, a mastermind will have to be a part of it, because the support and the advice and the mentorship and is just, it's invaluable.
Thank you. Okay, Nat, you said you have 2 for us.
I got my 2 tips. So if you're at an event and you're going to do the business card thing, these are mine. So you give them 2 cards and say, this is for you and this is for a friend. If you could just give that to someone who you think I could help. So you
and Nat, can you hold those up, because they're not business cards, there's postcards. And you guys, these are so cute that I kept mine. I have one of those. I come across it all the time, and it just makes me so happy. It's just a fun postcard. We'll put it on the show notes for this episode for anyone listening to audio only of this podcast.
And then about mastermind groups, I agree. And I mean, I guess I've got 2 mastermind groups. One that is my mastermind group that is, I think it's $29, $27 or $29 American per month. So I like that model, like the monthly payment, and then people can stay as long or as short as they want to. And, in that group, they get guest expert interviews and Q&A calls with me. And that's the group model. And then I also just launched what I call my influencers mastermind group, which is only 8 spots. So I've got 5 spots left. It's women entrepreneurs who have a quote unquote burning desire to make a real difference in the world. And those are the girls that I want to help shine the light. Like you said, shine the light on them, because that will help to make my impact on the world exponential. So if people are interested, they can check it out on gotogirlssocialmedia.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And how about you, Jeree? What's your closing out networking or mastermind tip?
I would say it might be the most simplified of answers, but I would say join the conversation. You will never deepen a relationship if you don't start the relationship. And it's so easy for us to lurk, whether it's at an event or a Facebook group or LinkedIn. It's so easy just to watch and kind of feel like we're part of the gang, even though we never talk. But the fact is you will not be a part of the gang if you never say anything, if you never reach out and actually make a real connection. And so, don't be a beaver. Get out there and actually join the conversation. And then it gets easier over time. It's like dating. It's the first 20 are horrible. It gets easier. And then you find your peers and your peeps and your warrior, teammates. It's nice.
And I want to close out with each of you sharing how everyone can connect with you. So I'll just go one by one. Jeree, can you share how everyone can best connect with you?
Sure. You can find us, all the business stuff that we talked about, at connectepic.com. But you can connect with me on Facebook. We can connect in our Facebook group that we actually just started last night. It's Connect Epic. Just search that and it'll pull up our Facebook group. That's probably the easiest way to connect with me now, since I've got a massive amount of time I'm going to be spending in there for the next probably 6 months.
Yes.
So yeah, just come and join our group and ask questions, join the conversation, I guess. Yeah.
And Carol, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So I love Twitter, as we talked about. So definitely reach out to me on Twitter at Carol Morgan Cox. And my website is speakingyourbrand.com. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube, etc. from there.
Fantastic. And Nat, how can, you said briefly, but how can everybody connect with you?
Yeah, same thing. I'm all over social media, Instagram, Pinterest, everywhere. But my favorite email is tricky. I've got email overwhelm. So my best mode is private message on Facebook, Go To Girls social media Facebook page, or send me a private message. That's probably the best way to connect. And the website, like I said, gotogirlssocialmedia.com. And I do have a podcast, so I'll try to find the link to the one about the the 4 animal personality types so people can listen to that interview.
Fantastic. Yeah, this will appear as a audio podcast on the Biz Chicks podcast. This blab will be re-aired and repurposed. And we will have on the show notes for that episode, which will air in just a few weeks, all the links to that you guys just shared, and some of it's in the chat here. Nat, could you put your website in the chat there so everybody that's on the blab can catch you? And I just wanted to thank you guys so much for being on the Biz Chicks podcast today, and for all of you that were joining us here via blab, thank you so much. And I'm going to stay for a little bit if anybody else wants to pop on. I know you guys, if anyone else has any more questions, but I wanted to respect our panel's time, and if they have other appointments, they can head out, and I can stay for a little bit longer. We can continue the conversation if anybody would like to. And wanted to encourage all of you that are in here, connect with each other. You're all interested in networking. You're all here. And so at a minimum, follow each other on Blab and Twitter, and see where, who knows, maybe you got your new BFF or your new mastermind buddy today on Blab. So thank you so much for being on the Biz Chicks podcast, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, ladies. So we're done with our interview with our podcast. Does anyone have to head out? You can if you need to. Okay.
I'm good.
Dree had to go. Okay. Oh, Nat did. You guys moved around.
Yeah.
So
I had to walk away when Natalie was finishing up because I looked over, my 3-year-old was on top of the counter getting her own dish down.
Oh.
I had to run.
If anyone in the audience in the chat room would like to pop in and ask the ladies a question, you're welcome to ask to join in, and we'll pop you in. Thanks. Nat said she's still watching. She was freeing up the seat if anyone wanted to pop in and ask a question of you guys.
Well, see, she's a professional. She knows how these things work. I'm just like, I'm okay. I can stay.
She's fantastic. I know. I'm so glad to have her here.
It's nice to have you here, Romy and Mamika.
Yeah, it's great to see everyone here.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other people, but I'm new to this, so it's scrolling and I'm not reading as well as I probably could.
Yes, if we missed any of your questions as we were talking in the chat, please let us know and repeat them because it does go fast.
It goes really fast, you guys. Okay, here's Terry. She's interested in coming on, so we'll bring her on and see.
Can you see me?
Yes, hi Terry, welcome.
Yes, hi. How are you?
Good.
Great. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm actually at the Birmingham Botanical Gardens. I'm sitting outside. It's beautiful all around me. And
Nice.
Natalie, I've been following you on Biz Chicks. Now I look forward to following the other ladies. And I think I just caught the one with Nat on yours, so I'll be following you guys too. I'm a spiritual worker, healer, entrepreneur, so I enjoy learning about the business aspects. And I actually did have one question about Blab. Do you have to start it only from your laptop, or can you start it from your iPhone? I know you're having some trouble today, so maybe that relates.
Yeah, no, I was on my laptop. I'm getting some reverb from one of you guys. I don't know if one of you guys, maybe, I don't know who it is. I'm just going to mute you two really quick. So Terry, yeah, I was having trouble with my podcasting mic, which goes in through the USB port. It doesn't seem to work when I'm on Chrome browser, but it works when I'm on the Firefox browser. So
Can you start?
I don't know if you can start from the phone. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows if you can run a Blab from your phone. I don't know if they have an app. I don't think they do. They have a great, a very active Twitter account. So I would tweet them and just ask them.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, because I was trying to.
And there's also there's a Facebook group called Blabaholics. So you could, and there's a lot of people that are blabbing a lot in there, a lot of leaders in there. And so you could go in there and ask that question too, but I don't have the answer. Does anyone else here have that answer?
Mamika
Blab works best from Chrome on the computer. You can't start a Blab from your phone, but you can interact and comment, Mamika says. So there is a Blab iPhone app, Carol says. Okay. So I think that answers your question. Any other questions for us, Terry? Congratulations on growing your business.
Only works well. I had the iPhone. I had the iPhone. What's that? What's that? I'm losing you.
I'm going to go ahead and.
I lost.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I'm moving her out because she has such a poor connection. Oh, now I'm spinning. So there we go. Okay. So can you guys still hear me?
I can
okay.
hear you.
Okay, great. All right. Well, is there any other thoughts or any other networking questions we can answer?
Can you hear me?
Oh, let me unmute you guys. Sorry, Dree, I had you guys muted.
Okay.
We couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Try again.
I thought it was interesting when Nat was saying that when she is at an in-person event and she comes across somebody who's an introvert, because she's an extrovert, she tones her thing down. And I thought it was interesting because I do the opposite. When I meet an introvert, I crank mine up to carry them so that they feel more comfortable. And so I thought it was really fascinating that she did the opposite. And I would love to just like be a fly on the wall and see the like if you could have the same person, see what the differential is there. Because I know a lot of extroverts that do exactly what Nat talked about is tone it down. And because I'm an introvert, I find that it took me a really long time to become comfortable looking like an extrovert. And so I know that in my, metamorphosis from going from just a full-on introvert to like a disguised extrovert, I loved when people would carry me, like my brother was always an extrovert. And so he could carry the conversation all the time. And I felt very comfortable and safe in that. Right. And so, I think, personally for me, I relate to that when I come across an introvert, and I just try to make sure that I help them feel more comfortable. Right. Essentially. What about you, Carol? What do you do?
So that's interesting because I think I do what you do, Jeree, as an introvert, but I can be on, when I need to be on. And so then I think when I do meet people, especially at events, I probably tend to be much more spirited and than I would normally. I guess maybe subconsciously, I try to read body language. So if the person seems to kind of be retracting a little bit, not that noticeably, but, then I may tone it down. Or if the person seems to be enjoying that I'm a little bit more lively, then I may do that some more.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think I got all that guy's stuff out of here, and he has been blocked and reported.
The beauty of Blab.
That's exactly why I haven't done a Blab yet, because I can't multitask like that.
Yeah, no, it would be.
That side of the screen.
I've actually been thinking I should have had Dr. Romy on here helping me with stuff like that, because she tends to come to my Blabs, and she's my buddy, my mastermind buddy. And
so can you do that? Can you have somebody partner so that they can take
I think
care of all
I don't know if other people can kick people out or not. That's a good question.
I tried to, and I had no control to do it.
Okay, so it was only me. Okay.
Yeah, but we had a great turnout today.
We did. That was a great Blab. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm going to close this out now. And if anyone's interested in listening to this podcast or sharing it with someone else, well, the replays will be available here on this site. And then at bizchicks.com/iTunes, you can listen to all the podcasts and in this series. I've done a number of, I just put the link in, I've done a number of different Blabs that we've repurposed into audio interviews. And so it's just been a fun experiment for me to try doing a live video podcast, and it's been really fun. And I loved having you guys here today. And Jeree, thank you for being on here for your first Blab. Carol, is it your first one, or have you done one before?
No, this is my first one, except for the one I popped into last week or so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we just tried out the tech, and yeah, thanks so much, ladies, and thanks for being on the Biz Chicks podcast and being here. So
thank you.
We'll close out now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.